One of the big stories that came in the last week or two that I didn't touch on was someone leaking the Cyberpunk 2077 E3 2018 gameplay demo audio. I did briefly mention this on Twitter, and if you're not following me over there, consider doing so. And CD Projekt Red's community lead chimed in and voiced that they were very angry about the situation. Pretty much someone who was invited to this press event abused CD Projekt Red's trust and decided to record audio and publish it publicly. This someone being Sifted Games, or SIFTD Games, don't know how it's pronounced. From what I've been told by some other people that went to the demo, other YouTubers that I know, there was no non-disclosure agreement or NDA that they had to sign, but it was more of an understanding that you cannot post pictures or video of the demo. So what do these guys do? They record audio. Now, recording audio is something that some journalists do so they can use it later on when writing articles or pieces and such, but it never is released. These guys never asked CD Projekt Red, hey, is it alright that we record some audio of everything going on and upload it to our YouTube channel? Because they knew what they were doing was wrong. Eventually they uploaded the audio to YouTube. CD Projekt Red was forced to strike it down, and they did this almost immediately, but it was too late. The audio was everywhere, and tons of gaming sites have since made articles about the leaked demo audio. Now, the real reason why I want to cover this story is because of the bizarre rant and explanation that Sifted Games' Shane Satterfield goes on, trying to defend his actions while also calling out people criticizing his quote-unquote real journalism, and additionally voicing his anger that they didn't profit from this. Leaks happen, and I typically think it's fine, and usually I'll report on it, although the way this company went about it is very sketchy, clearly abusing the trust of CD Projekt Red, whom invited them. And well, let's just get into this.
Kind of asked you guys what you wanted me to do with it. You guys all said, hey, just throw it underneath some B-roll and we'll listen to it. And so that's what I did.
Let's not act like you didn't already have a plan for the audio. It wasn't let's just ask the audience. You knew exactly what you were going to do with or without any viewers' input.
We spent a lot of time sweetening the audio because I had recorded it with my iPhone. And so we threw it into an editing program and re-equalized all the audio, laid it all out in a timeline, looped a bunch of trailers and screenshots over top of it, put a disclaimer in the front of it, and put it up. And within 30 minutes, it was zapped by CD Projekt Red. They filed a copyright claim for it.
So he, being Shane, starts off by pointing out all the hard work they did with the audio that they were not allowed to really have, and from here on out, it just gets more bizarre.
Not only did they file a claim, so there's different kinds of claims, but we got like a strike from CD Projekt Red, which means if you get like 3 of those within a certain period of time, your YouTube channel is deleted forever. So these kinds of strikes are a really, really big deal.
Again, I'm confused why Shane is surprised. You leaked something that was not supposed to be released. That's the risk that you took, although you were invited to a private demo. There's a reason why it's private, and obviously CD Projekt Red was not going to be cool with what you did.
PR reached out to me and said, hey, we want you to take that down. I'm like, okay, well, let's talk about this. Before I even finished sending that email, the video had already been taken down by CD Projekt Red on YouTube.
This is what you call trying to contain a leak, and once that first email came, Sifted Games should have immediately removed the video. This was not something that they were going to talk about.
I'm not even going to get into the fact that legally they really did not have a right to do that. I mean, that was recorded on public property. It was not an NDA signed, but ultimately it is their copyright and their IP. So I understood their position. It was technically copyrights for us and for CD Projekt Red.
Still a dick move either way. Plus, you recorded audio from their private demo of their game. It's like going to see a comedian's show and recording the whole show and publicly releasing it. You can't do that, and I will say most of the time, phones are not allowed to even be used. Another example would also be a concert and recording the whole show and trying to upload it to YouTube and monetize it. It's not yours, and more importantly, it's not covered by copyright or fair use laws. You're legit just uploading their audio from their game. That's the risk that you took. I also like how he starts off this clip by saying, I'm not going to get into saying CD Projekt Red had no right to take down the video, and then proceeds to do this with a full explanation.
Essentially what it came down to is I did not want to ruin the relationship, one with CD Projekt Red, and two with the PR person that set me up with the demo, because I've literally known the guy for like 15 or 16 years.
I think that we can all agree that that relationship is probably damaged, maybe tarnished after what you tried pulling. Additionally, any other company that holds a similar private event probably will not be sending an invite to you knowing you cannot be trusted. Also, so you knew this PR person for 15 years and threw the trust I would think he had in you down the drain. Interesting decision.
And ultimately what ended up happening is someone downloaded the YouTube video and then ripped the audio out of it. And then it was pointed to by some small website that was then pointed to by PC Gamer. And it became this thing that we never got credit for and ended up getting no benefit for whatsoever. In fact, it ended up all to our detriment.
Of course, this is what it was all about, money and fame. Now they're angry that they did not get any credit for leaking this and ruined their relationship with CD Projekt Red. That's what I call a healthy dose of karma.
And we got absolutely nothing out of it. Most of you guys never got to listen to it because it was taken down within 30 minutes and somebody else ended up uploading it and the story ran all over the internet and no one ever said, hey, this was Sifted that did this or Shane Satterfield that did this. A lot of people called it a leak. It was not a leak. I realize using the word leak is a lot sexier for a headline on your website.
If this is not a leak, then it's a dick move. This was a private event that few were allowed to go to, and you chose to try and capitalize on your invite, and from my understanding, nothing was supposed to be released in terms of what was shown. They allowed you to talk about what you saw and heard, but that's it.
I didn't go in and hide a microphone underneath a chair or anything like that. I walked in and stood there and recorded it on my phone in front of everybody. There was nothing secret about it. There was nothing malicious about it.
The problem with that statement is that you tried to profit off of posting something you knew you were not allowed to do. Actions have consequences, and this is a prime example of that. Plus, if I had to guess, you probably were not holding your iPhone up for everyone to see. Most likely you had it on its backside on a table or in your hands, preventing anyone from noticing what you were doing. I guarantee if anyone noticed you were recording, they would have said something.
Today, I saw on a podcast, somebody, I'm not going to say who, said whoever did that is an a-hole. And said, again, I'm not going to say who it was, but they called me an a-hole not knowing I was the one who did it.
So this is where he starts attacking people for calling him out for abusing CD Projekt Red's trust. This video right now is almost 100% disliked with comments turned off. I don't know who called you an a-hole, but from this one incident, almost everyone's reaction is just that.
And this person, by the way, makes their living off video game publishers and developers by hosting events from video game publishers and developers. So I can see where their perspective might be, that's an a-hole-ish thing to do. This person's not a journalist.
Now he's in full attack mode, completely getting off this subject to attack the credibility of someone calling him out for at the very least doing a boneheaded decision. I don't know who he's talking about, but calling him not a journalist for hosting game events seems pretty petty.
What we're seeing here is a butting of the heads of someone who is a journalist. I mean, I don't want to call myself a journalist, that's for somebody else to say. But I've been trained to be a journalist, and I've been taught to handle things a certain way.
This guy's ego is through the roof, and I truly find this as such a bizarre situation. Also, as a trained journalist, don't you realize doing something like this may damage your brand and career?
The way I was taught and trained is you have to work to maximize the assets that you are afforded to create news or things that people care about and want to read or watch. And that's exactly what I did with this. I didn't break any rules. No one told me I wasn't allowed to record the audio. People saw me recording the audio. No one seemed to care. Also, for whatever reason, no one else seemed to have the foresight to do it except for me because no other recordings have popped up.
No one thought to do this because it was a private event, which means releasing audio or gameplay from the event would probably make it public in some way. This is abusing trust, and again, Shane's relationship is tarnished now with CD Projekt Red. And we've seen other journalists like Jason Schreier of Kotaku blacklisted by Bethesda for leaking Fallout 4 documents years before the game was officially revealed. That's the risk that you take doing things like this. Although going to an event you were invited to and leaking what was shown to you seems a little bit more cynical.
People just aren't used to it. Like, it was very interesting to deal with CD Projekt Red, who, by the way, ended up being awesome. They ended up removing the strike on YouTube and emailed me and said, look, we know we screwed up here. This is at least partially our fault. So they were totally cool with it. They got it. They requested that I help them, like, kind of fish around and take down links, which I have done for like the last few days.
Of course, CD Projekt Red is putting some blame on themselves, and it's because they did not expect someone to do this, but in this day and age, it should have been expected. That's why I personally was so surprised hearing there was no non-disclosure agreements, but I guarantee there will be at any future event, and you can thank Shane Satterfield. Plus, Shane acting like everything is okay with CD Projekt Red is pretty amusing. I say that because this is a nice company. CD Projekt Red is one of the few in this industry that is like that. If this were Electronic Arts or Activision or Take-Two Interactive, Shane would have, for one, been forced to sign an NDA, and two, if he leaked audio like he did here, he would have been hit with a lawsuit and a permanent blacklisting. But based on just one of the CDPR community lead's comments on the matter, all is not well, and while CD Projekt Red is nice, like with anyone, it only goes so far.
It was interesting reading the comments on any website that pointed to the files that have been ripped from us, and it was one of two things. Either this is pathetic, they're screwing CD Projekt Red, or holy crap, I can't wait to listen to this. So it's this environment that's been created in our industry where if you actually try to be a real journalist, you're going to end up getting chided for it.
Real games journalist Shane Satterfield, who I never heard of before this mini debacle. From about 95% of the comments I've read, people have said this was a pathetic move, and I personally refuse to listen to the audio because I'd rather see it all together how it was meant to be.
Not only chided by people who aren't journalists, but also by people who claim that they are journalists. And I have news for you, you're not. If you're taking money from a video game publisher or a video game developer to host their shows, you're not a journalist. You're on the take, you're a shill.
So he seems to go back to whoever called him an a-hole and then seems to make it that only journalists can criticize you. I don't know what you consider myself, but in my book, I'm going to agree with the so-called shill. You, Shane, trying to point fingers at other people for your screw-up is pathetic. You should have just admitted your mistake and moved on, but for some reason, you've given this dumb explanation. Going public with this in a big way seems like a bad decision for a real games journalist.
Do I regret that I had a scoop and then we lost it? Absolutely. This could have been a game changer for Sifted, in all honesty.
Oh, boo-hoo. Let me play a sad song for you on the world's smallest violin.
This is serious.
I know. This really is the world's smallest violin. See?
It could have been a total game changer for us. And it wasn't a malicious thing. It was, I had the foresight to do it. I had the idea of how to implement it, and no one else did. It was just one of those cases that could have been a magic bullet for us, and it all got screwed up, and it did nothing for us ultimately.
So, as we get close to the end of this video, Shane here explains how this could have been big for them, and how they were the only ones to think of this. You were the only ones to think of this because everyone else knew it was wrong. And while everybody knew no video or images were allowed, you attempted to circle around that, and ultimately now you get to deal with the consequences, which everyone is pointing out. It's valid criticism.
I feel like there's a lot of salty dogs out there right now who are like, why didn't I think of that? Well, you didn't. And so instead of lashing out at us, even though you may not even know it was us that did it, maybe you should start thinking critically about your coverage next time, instead of saying, oh, they told me I could do this, they told me I could do that, and I could only post it at Thursday at 1 a.m.
Nobody is jealous of this so-called scoop. Most of us are disappointed someone would be so ignorant and dumb to do this, and he turns this into an opportunity to take a shot at the people criticizing him. But finally, here's the final clip in which he acts like a 5-year-old.
Think critically about your job. Think about your assets and what you have access to, and be creative with them instead of just falling in line like a lemming, which is really honestly what the majority of the press is at this point. The fact that I got any flack from anybody who calls himself a journalist over this is pathetic.
The only thing that is pathetic is what you did, Shane. You could have taken ownership and ended it at that, but you turned this into an opportunity to take a shot at CD Projekt Red, to take multiple shots at other journalists, and really anyone who criticized you. The only reason why you're angry is because you didn't profit from this, and word of advice is maybe you should listen to the criticism and backlash you're getting, because it looks like about 94% of people do not agree with your opinion. This guy is pure salt and clearly is upset that CD Projekt Red took their leak video down, and he's also angry other sites ran the story without giving credit to him, which is what's called karma. Anyway, this was a truly bizarre and ridiculous situation, but what do you make of this? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, but thank you for watching. Make sure to leave a like if you did enjoy this video or found any informative value. Also consider subscribing for more content like this, and I'll see you later.